I'll be honest. When I started paying attention to my gas receipts, I got irritated. Every time I pulled into a gas station, the number on the pump climbed faster than expected. Same car, same commute, same driving style. But my wallet kept taking a bigger hit. At first, I blamed gas prices in the United States, which changed depending on the state and oil markets. But then I noticed something strange. Drivers lose money at the pump without realizing it. And when I say money, I mean serious money. When you add up small mistakes made by millions of drivers, people filling SUVs like the Toyota RAV4, pickups like the Ford F-150, or sedans like the Honda Civic, it quietly turns into billions of dollars disappearing every year. Today I'm going to show you 15 fuel-saving tricks many gas stations would rather you never learn. The fifth trick alone could save you hundreds a year. Stick with me until the end. If you're already part of the channel's community, hit the like button now. You know the content here is worth it. Most drivers pull into a gas station, squeeze the pump handle all the way down, and assume they're doing the smart thing. The logic feels obvious. The faster the tank fills, the faster you're back on the road. But that habit can quietly cost you money every time you refuel. When gasoline rushes through the nozzle at full speed, it doesn't enter the tank smoothly. Inside the hose and the tank, the liquid starts swirling. That movement creates tiny vapor bubbles that mix with the fuel. Gas pumps measure the total flow passing through the system, not just the pure gasoline that settles in your tank. When vapor bubbles are mixed in, the pump can still count part of that as fuel. Over time, this difference adds up. Some tests suggest pumping at maximum speed can reduce the real fuel reaching your tank by around 2 to 6%. That matters when drivers fill vehicles like the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, or trucks like the Ford F-150. The solution is simple. Pump fuel at a slower, steady speed. It takes a few extra seconds, but helps the measurements stay more accurate. Here's another mistake that happens at gas stations every day. The premium gasoline trap. The name sounds better, cleaner, maybe even more powerful. But for most drivers in the United States, choosing premium fuel is often just spending extra money for no real reason. Gas stations like when drivers choose higher octane fuel because it costs more per gallon. The problem is that many people believe premium automatically means better for every car, and that simply isn't true. Octane does not mean stronger or cleaner fuel. It only measures the fuel's resistance to knocking inside the engine. Most everyday vehicles are not designed to need that extra resistance. Take common American cars like the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, or the Toyota RAV4. These vehicles are built to run perfectly on regular 87-octane gasoline. If your car doesn't require premium, paying more at the pump usually brings no real benefit. It simply makes the final price higher than necessary. Here's a detail almost nobody notices at gas stations. The fuel delivery truck. If you pull in and see a huge tanker truck parked beside the pumps, most drivers ignore it and continue fueling. But this can actually be one of the worst times to fill your tank. Gas stations store thousands of gallons of fuel in underground tanks. Over time, tiny contaminants settle at the bottom. We're talking about dust, small particles from the fuel, and bits of rust that slowly build up after long periods. Normally, those particles stay at the bottom and don't cause problems. But when the tanker truck refills the station, fresh fuel enters the tank under strong pressure, stirring everything inside. It's like shaking a bottle with sediment at the bottom. For a while, those particles mix back into the fuel. Experts say this disturbance can increase the amount of sediment floating in the tank for several hours after delivery. If you fill up during that time, part of that mixture may enter your vehicle. Cars like the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, or trucks like the Ford F-150 rely on clean fuel for proper engine performance. Gas stations rarely warn drivers about this moment. So if you notice a tanker unloading fuel, the smart move is simple. Wait a while or come back later. Now let's talk about advice many drivers have heard. Fill up early in the morning because the fuel is colder and you supposedly get more gasoline for the same price. It sounds smart, but it's mostly a myth. Gas stations store fuel in underground tanks several feet below the surface. At that depth, the temperature stays very stable during the day. Whether it's early morning or late afternoon, the gasoline usually changes only a couple of degrees. That difference is too small to create real savings when filling your tank. In other words, pumping gas early doesn't mean you receive more fuel. What actually changes during the year is the fuel formula. Gasoline blends in the United States are adjusted by season. In summer, fuel is made to evaporate less in hot weather. In winter, the blend helps engines start in colder temperatures. Because of that change, some vehicles like the Toyota Camry or the Honda Civic may get slightly fewer miles per gallon during colder months. Now here's a detail so subtle that even experienced drivers rarely notice it: the calibration of gas pumps. Most people assume every pump delivers exactly the amount shown on the screen. But in the real world, that precision doesn't always happen. Over time, the internal components inside a fuel pump wear out. Measuring sensors can slowly lose accuracy, hoses age, and valves may not regulate flow as precisely as when the equipment was new. Even though the pump still works and shows normal numbers, it may deliver slightly less fuel than recorded. The difference can be small. A variation of about 1% may not seem important, but after many refills it adds up. Over time, it can mean paying for fuel that never actually reaches your vehicle. Inspections in different regions have shown that every year some gas pumps fail official accuracy tests. In many cases, the error ends up affecting the driver rather than the station. Older pumps or equipment with poor maintenance may have a higher chance of losing calibration. That's why it's a good habit to look for the inspection seal before filling up and avoid pumps that appear very worn. Now let's talk about a simple car part many drivers ignore: the engine air filter. It looks small and inexpensive, but it can affect fuel consumption more than people think. When the air filter is clean, the engine receives the right amount of air to mix with fuel during combustion. That balance is essential for the engine to work efficiently. The problem begins when the filter becomes dirty. Dust, debris, and pollution slowly collect in the filter. As those particles build up, airflow into the engine becomes restricted. To compensate for reduced airflow, the engine may inject more fuel into the mixture. The result is simple: the car burns more fuel to produce the same power. Studies suggest that a heavily clogged air filter can reduce fuel efficiency by close to 10% in some situations. Vehicles like the Toyota Camry, the Honda Civic, and SUVs such as the Toyota RAV4 rely on proper airflow for efficient performance. The good news is that checking the filter is simple. Remove it and hold it against the light. If little light passes through, it may be time to replace it. Now here's something many drivers overlook, but it can change how much fuel your car uses: tire pressure. If you want better fuel economy, before thinking about additives, check your tires. When tires are underinflated, they become one of the biggest enemies of efficiency. A tire with low pressure spreads more against the pavement, increasing rolling resistance. In simple terms, the car has to work harder to keep moving. That extra resistance forces the engine to work more, and when the engine works harder, it burns more fuel. Studies suggest poorly inflated tires can reduce fuel efficiency by around 3%. Many drivers don't even notice this change because the car still feels normal while driving. This matters whether you drive a commuter sedan like the Honda Civic, a family car like the Toyota Camry, or an SUV like the Toyota RAV4. The recommended pressure on the sticker inside the driver's door usually assumes the vehicle is fully loaded. But many people drive alone or with little weight, so keeping the tires properly adjusted helps reduce strain on the engine and improve efficiency. Now here's a common habit that can quietly increase your car's fuel consumption: short daily trips. That quick drive to the grocery store, dropping someone off at school, or traveling a couple of miles to work may seem harmless, but they can affect fuel economy more than many people expect. The reason is simple: car engines work less efficiently when they're still cold. Until the engine reaches its normal temperature, the vehicle's computer injects extra fuel to keep the engine running smoothly. During that warm-up period, fuel consumption rises. Studies suggest very short trips can increase fuel use by as much as 30%, especially in colder weather. Another factor many drivers overlook is that parts of the emission system also need heat to operate correctly. This can happen whether you drive a compact car like the Honda Civic, a sedan like the Toyota Camry, or an SUV like the Toyota RAV4. A simple solution is to group errands together or plan routes to reduce how often you start the engine cold. Over time, that change can help improve fuel efficiency. Now let's talk about something many drivers overlook: extra weight inside the car. It may seem small, but carrying unnecessary weight can slowly reduce fuel economy without you noticing. The heavier a vehicle becomes, the harder the engine has to work to get the car moving and keep it at speed. Even small increases in weight can make a difference. Roughly 100 extra pounds can reduce fuel efficiency by about 1 to 2%. This weight often builds up gradually. Old tools, boxes, sports gear, backpacks, or other items can sit in the trunk for months without being used. This affects everyday cars like the Honda Civic, the Toyota Camry, or SUVs like the Toyota RAV4. Another detail many drivers forget is roof racks and external carriers. Even empty, they add weight and increase aerodynamic drag. That extra air resistance becomes more noticeable at highway speeds, forcing the engine to work harder. Cleaning out the trunk and removing unused accessories can quickly help improve fuel efficiency. I've seen drivers walk into a repair shop thinking they saved a few dollars on cheap engine oil, and later face a repair bill worth thousands. It's frustrating, because many people are told that oil is just oil, and that any type works the same. That idea causes more engine problems than drivers realize. When the oil is thicker than the engine was designed for, internal parts have to push through it like moving through heavy syrup. The crankshaft, bearings, and other components face more resistance every time the engine spins. To overcome that drag, the engine burns more fuel just to keep running. Tests on modern engines show that using the wrong oil viscosity can reduce fuel efficiency by about 5%. Cold weather can make it worse, because thick oil takes longer to circulate and reach critical components. That's why manufacturers carefully design engines and recommend specific oil grades. Vehicles like the Toyota Corolla, the Chevrolet Malibu, or trucks like the Ford F-150 are engineered with precise tolerances. Following the oil specification in the owner's manual helps the engine run smoothly and maintain fuel efficiency over time. It's frustrating to watch someone spend money on maintenance while fuel is being lost because of a small, inexpensive part. Many drivers overlook it, but the gas cap can become a source of wasted fuel. The cap isn't just there to close the tank. It's part of the vehicle's sealed fuel system. When the seal inside the cap becomes worn or cracked, gasoline vapors can slowly escape. Modern vehicles monitor pressure inside the tank, and when the system detects a leak, the engine computer may adjust the fuel mixture to keep the system stable. When that happens, the engine can inject slightly more fuel than necessary. In some cases, this can increase fuel consumption by around 3%. Many drivers don't realize the issue until a warning light appears on the dashboard. Vehicles like the Toyota Corolla, the Honda Civic, or SUVs like the Toyota RAV4 rely on sealed fuel systems to keep emissions controlled. The fix can be simple. Make sure the gas cap clicks tightly when closing it, or replace a worn cap to restore proper pressure in the system. It's frustrating to see drivers sitting in intense heat, thinking they're saving fuel by turning off the air conditioning. The idea that AC always wastes gas is a myth that sounds logical but isn't always true. In slow city traffic or when moving through parking lots and neighborhoods, the air conditioning compressor adds load to the engine. In those situations, running the AC can increase fuel consumption by around 10%. In that case, opening the windows can help. But the situation changes on the highway. At speeds above about 50 miles per hour, driving with the windows open hurts the car's aerodynamics. Air enters the cabin and creates drag, forcing the engine to work harder to maintain speed. That extra resistance can increase fuel consumption by as much as 15% on some vehicles. The effect becomes noticeable with vehicles like the Toyota RAV4 or the Toyota Camry. The smart approach is balance. Windows in slow traffic, air conditioning on the highway. It can be unsettling to realize your car might be burning more fuel without you noticing. In many modern vehicles, fuel efficiency depends on sensors measuring what happens inside the engine. One important component is the oxygen sensor, often called the lambda sensor. Its job is to measure how much oxygen remains in the exhaust after combustion. The engine computer uses that information to adjust the air-fuel mixture. When that sensor becomes worn, the system may start running the engine rich, meaning it injects more fuel than necessary. Another key component is the mass airflow sensor, known as the MAF sensor. It measures the amount of air entering the engine so the computer knows how much fuel to inject. If dust builds up on that sensor, it can send inaccurate readings, causing extra fuel to be used. Vehicles like the Toyota Corolla or the Chevrolet Equinox rely heavily on these sensors for efficient performance. Cleaning the sensor or replacing a worn one can quickly restore proper fuel balance and improve efficiency. It's painful to look at gas prices and realize how much fuel gets wasted while a car is sitting still. One of the biggest hidden drains is engine idling. Many drivers think it's harmless to leave the engine running while waiting for someone or letting the car warm up in the morning, but that habit quietly burns fuel without taking you anywhere. A gasoline engine can consume roughly a quarter to half a gallon per hour just sitting at idle. It may not sound dramatic, but those minutes add up. If a driver leaves the engine running for about 10 minutes every day, that can waste dozens of gallons of fuel over a year. Modern engines are designed to warm up more efficiently while the car is moving gently. Vehicles like the Toyota Corolla or the Honda Civic reach operating temperature faster when driven calmly for the first few minutes. Extended idling can also make the engine management system run slightly richer to keep the engine stable, which increases fuel use. Drivers who spend long periods waiting in their cars can lose a surprising amount of fuel over time. A simple rule helps avoid that waste. If you expect to stay stopped for more than about 30 seconds, turning the engine off can save more fuel than leaving it running. It's frustrating to watch the fuel gauge drop just because you decided to drive a little faster on the highway. Cars have a speed range where fuel efficiency is best, usually between 50 and 60 miles per hour. Once you go beyond that range, physics works against you. Air resistance increases rapidly as speed rises. At around 70 miles per hour, some vehicles can already lose close to 15% of fuel efficiency. Push closer to 80 miles per hour, and the loss can climb beyond 20%. The engine isn't the main problem. The real issue is aerodynamic drag. As the car moves faster, the air pushes harder against the front, forcing the engine to work harder to maintain speed. This effect is noticeable in everyday vehicles like the Chevrolet Equinox, the Jeep Renegade, or sedans such as the Toyota Corolla. Driving just 5 or 10 miles per hour slower on long highway trips can save a surprising amount of fuel. If you're part of the channel's community, go ahead and leave a like now. Your wallet will thank you. It's shocking to realize how much money we waste just because of a lack of technical knowledge. These were the 15 fuel-saving secrets that gas station owners hope you never discover. Even if just one of these tips saved you money today, imagine applying all of them to your Chevrolet Onix or your Toyota Corolla. The savings would be huge. Before you finish watching, show that you're part of our community. Smash the like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below telling us which of these habits you didn't even know you were doing. And if you want to save even more, check out my video about electronic resets that solve about 95% of car system issues. Don't let your hard-earned money go up in smoke because of mechanical mistakes. Protect your engine and your wallet at the same time. It's easier than you think.